Hello everyone, Namaste again. Today I'll be talking about the two main types of analysis of data, the two methods which I used mainly. So analysis of data in psychological research is mainly done using qualitative and quantitative methods. So after collecting the data, the process of which we have discussed, um, the researcher's next job is to analyze the data. So the two primary methodological approaches are quantitative methods. In quantitative methods, I'll be telling you more. We use numerical data which are subjected to statistical analysis. And the other one, in qualitative methods, we focus on descriptive, comprehensive understanding of human experiences. So basically, this data will be descriptive in nature, not numerical. So just a small background. There are different types of psychological research. They're categorized based on goals, setting, and methods. So based on goals, we have fundamental and applied research, and based on setting, as we have discussed earlier, laboratory and field research, and based on methods, which I'll be talking about now, quantitative and qualitative research techniques. So there are certain goals which are followed by fundamental and applied research. Fundamental research, basically, we aim to discover, describe, and understand features of behavior. It's more theoretical in nature. For example, how is information stored in the brain? How is it retrieved from our memory? Um, and so on. Applied research, as the name indicates, it deals with specific practical problems in real life context. We come up with solutions to practical problems in real life context. And these are concerned with finding and implementing solutions like how to promote safe driving habits among youngsters. So these two are very closely related. It's not like they are contrary to each other, but they complement each other. So basic research provides the foundation for applied research because, as you know, if we have to have practical knowledge, we need to have a foundation, theoretical foundation, and vice versa. Applied research will expand the base for theory. So as I've explained earlier, the settings for research is usually laboratory and field research. Now we come to qualitative and quantitative methods. So what is quantitative research? Here, basically, we collect numerical data subjected to statistical analysis. So the kind of research which employs quantitative methods are basically experimental research, correlational research, and statistical summaries. Whereas qualitative research, it is something comprehensive, very descriptive. It has a realistic approach. And the methods used here are interview method, observations, and case studies. So these two are complementary to each other. Most of the researchers use both these methods. And as I said earlier, research designs are like a blueprint. A researcher will first freeze on the research designs, what method, which research design he is going to follow, what are the methods under that design is what he is going to decide before he starts the research. So there are three major types of research designs: descriptive, correlational, and experimental. Descriptive, it provides a picture of the current state of affairs. We want to understand further about the current state of affairs, or we want to describe the thoughts or the feelings of a person. Correlational research, it uh, is more about finding the relationship among variables, and it allows you to predict future events based on the understanding of relationship among variables. Experimental research, as we have discussed in detail, we have control group and experimental group. We manipulate the IV and we measure the effects of this manipulation to establish cause and effect relationship. So each design has different strengths and limitations, but it gives you different approaches for investigation. In experimental research types, also I have discussed earlier, laboratory experiment, field experiment, and quasi-experiments are the different types. Now coming to descriptive research method, here we describe the existing conditions in detail. We observe and measure some particular behaviors which we have uh, thought about or decided earlier before we start the research. It is useful both in the initial and final stages of the investigation or research. So here we use both quantitative approach and qualitative approach. Under quantitative, what are the methods we use? Surveys. Under surveys, the tools we use are questionnaires and interviews. Under observation method, we use naturalistic observation, and I've already discussed with you about the different types of observation, lab, and participant and non-participant observation. In the qualitative approach, we have case studies, interviews, and the different types of interviews. So quantitative analysis method, here we have examples of psychological tests, structured interviews, and questionnaires. They contain close-ended questions. Here, the questions will have the possible responses also along with the question. You may have come across in malls, when you go to malls, they will request you to participate in a survey. So here you will be given a set of questions in the survey and the responses are also given. Here these closed-ended questions have scaled responses. So why they have this scale is to measure the strength. So these can be, lowest score can be 1, it can go up to highest being 5, 7 or 11. So participants will select the appropriate response, and sometimes you just have right and wrong responses also for each question, the right answer and the wrong answer. Now the researcher will assign a number to each response, like 1 for right, 0 for wrong, and so on, and he will calculate the total, the aggregate score. So they will now have to analyze these scores. So individual scores on a particular attribute is given. So this step leads to further steps like converting psychological attributes into quantities. This is how they do conversion of psychological attributes like intelligence. How do you measure intelligence and how do you compare your intelligence with other people's intelligence? So they do this by quantitative analysis methods. So intelligence, aptitude, and so on. Like for example, attribute in an aptitude test, if you have a high score in numericals, then they will suggest in career guidance that you are suitable for a profession in engineering or economics. Or a high verbal aptitude score will suggest teaching, law, or journalism as your career. So researchers make inferences out of the data collected and they give meaning to data. They compare individual scores with the scores of the group, average score of the group, or scores between groups also they compare. So as discussed earlier in psychology, we have to not just arrive at a conclusion using data, analysis of data, but we have to infer the data also. So the use of statistical methods, you have already learned about central tendency in 10th standard. Then there's something called variable methods, variability methods, and correlation coefficients. So these methods help the researchers to make inference and give meaning to data. Qualitative analysis is something totally different. Here, we study human experiences, and because human experiences are very complex, There are many things which go into um, making a person who he or she is, and each person's experience is unique to him or her. So, this complexity is lost when you want to conduct this kind of research using quantitative methods. So, to understand how experiences are organized and what meaning people give to them, we have to listen it in the form of either unstructured interviews or informal meetings and so on. So one way of doing this and analyzing these kind of data, which are not numerical, they're very descriptive. One way of doing it is narrative analysis. Here we analyze how individuals organize and give meaning to their experiences through the stories they tell about their lives. So here we focus on what people say and how they tell their stories to understand their thoughts, feelings, and meanings they give to events. So, data are not in the form of scores, and it's usually in the words of the participant, whether it's participant observation or unstructured interview. So, like field notes of the researcher, photographs, interview responses, audio recording, video recording, informal meetings, these can be converted into scores or they can be put into statistical analysis. So what do? We have content analysis. We find thematic categories from our data and build these categories. Now, these two methods are complementary to each other, like I said earlier, the qualitative and quantitative. So, a suitable combination is suggested to understand any phenomenon completely in detail. So, this is about analysis of data, the two main types, which is qualitative and quantitative. So, I will see you in the next video. Until then, thank you so much. Bye bye.